And at the same time, we get this last pick in the phase, Venomancer, that is not going to cause a lot of problems for that Nyx assassin. We might not see him get nearly as much work done as you would like, just because you have that vision, you have that sort of easy call to make, and it counters out that tiny too once you do get that blink dagger. So again, Infamous, they are just trying to win their lanes, and I think they are sort of giving off that vibe where they're a little bit angry about that one loss versus D2 Hustlers. They're going to pick aggressive heroes. They're going to try to run at you. And with how they played in that previous game, I definitely think it can work.
Yeah, the early aggression very much proven to be successful in the right circumstances for Infamous. So they are going to look to put something similar together here in this match. Still need that carry option, and obviously the Bloodseeker is not going to be available this time, but there are still very much heroes in the pool that Infamous can use to try and force some of those early engagements. But it's going to be down to the cut to try and take some of those heroes away, starting with the removal of the Ursa. So the bear will be taken out. Infamous, meanwhile, actually removed the Weaver as well. So we have seen that Weaver picked up a couple of times. I think Scourge has played it once. The other times we've seen it out from Rises for Ego Boys, but just because it's maybe not super popular doesn't mean that it wouldn't have been an interesting option. So Infamous going to be banning that one away, not willing to take too many chances at this point.
And we could be seeing possibly the Juggernaut, possibly the Anti-Mage. We could be seeing a little bit of a reach. We keep seeing teams feeling confident enough to pick that Anti-Mage, especially the cut. They could maybe make it work. There isn't a lot of lockdown on the Infamous side as of right now, and they do get to see that carry matchup. Whereas if you are on Infamous, I'm sort of waiting to see what we will be getting from Parker, because yet again, we got to kind of get him on a unique hero. His Void is banned out, his TA is banned out, as well as his Bloodseeker, which he definitely proved himself very heavily in that previous game. So I'm excited to see, again, more and more new things coming out from him. Of course, probably nothing new for him. He's probably played these heroes hundreds and hundreds of times, but it still should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, new from our perspective in this event for sure. They're not going to just throw him into the deep end on something he's never played before. But if you're the cut, what is it that you're afraid of right now? You've got the Ursa banned out. In terms of maybe heroes that can fight a little bit earlier, I don't know. Do you worry about a Troll, a Sven, something in that sort of vein that is going to be able to provide that little bit of both damage and durability? Or do they look for something maybe slightly less conventional? I don't think they need to worry about the sort of later game options based on what Infamous have put together here so far, but they don't quite know what they really are most afraid of here. They're starting to run down that clock just a little bit.
And I think kind of the easy ban for them might be just the Sven. They are going to ban out the Anti-Mage, and it does sort of make sense, especially Parker. You would have that pretty easy lane up versus the Timbersaw. While Timbersaw is pretty annoying once you get that throwing, you don't really burn ever enough mana for him to stop laning. You do give, again, sort of an easy pass, and I was thinking of maybe the cut wanting to pick it up, but not having the first pick out of this phase, it's definitely something to be a little bit concerned about. But now with Parker, it's hard to say because you don't want to get bursted up by this physical damage too much. And this is
Ooh.
really different. Okay, is this going to be a gyro one now, I'm assuming? Something like that. This is going to be a sort of a switch around.
Okay. So yeah, Gyrocopter out the one. Otherwise, Parker's running a carry Slardar, which I do not believe I have seen in a pro match in quite some time. So feels more like the Gyrocopter in this situation, but we'll have to wait and see. Meanwhile, for the cut, how do you now respond? That Slardar is going to be hitting you up with a little bit of extra lockdown. The armor reduction is going to make it significantly harder for your lineup to sort of just stand up and absorb some of this damage. And their response will be the TB. That is sort of
Oh,
a...
they did pick the TV. It's risky. It's
Yeah.
very, very risky. I was going to maybe suggest the PL just because it's a little bit more slippery. It has a little bit more benefits when it comes to playing versus lineups with very low lockdown. But the TV, the biggest benefit of the TB is you do have those timing pushes. You're going to be able to sync up and really connect with the members of your team, push down maybe a few towers a little bit earlier than usual, try to get some space on the map. The detriment to that is when you do not have meta, Scourge is not showing up. He is going to be playing in other lanes. He is going to be sort of getting that split push game going. And yeah, we will see Parker up on that gyrocopter. So you've got to be a little bit scared because that activity coming out from the gyrocopter could definitely catch you off guard. And now maybe Tingle King's lane isn't going to look quite so good because we've got that Slardar now being played up by A. So that lane, it's either going to go fantastic for Infamous or it's going to go absolutely terrible depending on the play of really Giant and Tingle King. If they can get a few early kills, sort of snowball Tingle King forward towards that level 6 timing just a little bit faster, then I think that lane can really sort of turn in their favor. And if they don't, then I think Parker's going to sort of walk away with it again.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't know, man. I see this TB. I'm so scared for it. Scourge is just going to be sort of standing on the knife's edge in a lot of this. We talked about Infamous having a lineup that can afford to get a little bit aggressive. At the time, we were sort of looking at Gyro and Tusk as the supports in that instance, but Tusk and Slaughter might have the same aggressive potential, and depending on Parker's build, he is going to be coming online in terms of his ability to contribute to these fights well before that TB. So if they can create the space for Scourge, then yeah, sure, by all means. You might just be able to ride him to a victory, but I truly doubt that Infamous are going to be all too keen on letting the game get to that kind of point. I think they're going to try to get aggressive early, and that kind of early aggression is something that the Cut are not necessarily equipped to handle if this TB is the one sort of getting pressured up.
And that's where I wonder why the PL wasn't maybe considered first, because TB is one of the few heroes in the game that actually matches up versus the Venomancer pretty poorly, sort of in the same vein as that Ursa, where 90% of the time you are going to be a melee hero in the lane, and you're going to struggle, especially once Mariano is able to get a few levels. You don't really have that sort of sit underneath the tower, deal with the Plague Ward's hero on your team. The closest hero to that is going to be that Timbersaw, but I think Tingle King's going to have his hands full dealing with the Gyrocopter. He doesn't have that really Timbersaw matchup where you get to that Whirling Death, you're playing versus a strength hero, you're able to play versus the fact that you maybe have 10 or 15 damage on your lane opponent, where now you're versus a Gyrocopter, you have the same amount of base damage, sure you have a Quelling Blade, but I feel like Parker is going to just turn up the heat. We always see once you get that level 2 on Gyrocopter, he just immediately runs at you, and it's something that Tingle King definitely has to be scared of.
Yeah, we'll see if Tingle King is up to the task of sort of withstanding that kind of aggression, as we do see the bounty runes going to be spawning up here momentarily. Tingle King already pushing into the river, looking to grab one of those up for himself, and there's really no one here to contest him. So no aggression, really no shenanigans. It's just going to be a 2-2 split. Both sides were honestly more concerned with getting their vision down here at the start of this game than really pursuing any kills. Hold up, what the hell is this? There's an Obs Ward from Infamous inside of their own base.
I do see that. That is interesting. Not really sure why it's there. Possibly a misplay trying to swap it off to possibly Michael. Yeah, that's a weird one. Not really scouting out anything. There's no Monkey King in this game. There's nobody trying to snipe your couriers at the 0 minute mark.
To be honest, I thought I was the only one who made that kind of mistake, but hey, it even happens to the pro players here as Scourge. Speaking of mistakes, holy crap, he's just dead.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice play in from Infamous. They bring that trio in, and A, as soon as they get the kill, he's TPing out, makes his way up top to help out the Gyro, and that's a play that we've seen a lot of teams kind of almost sort of shy away from now. That sort of just initial attempt with the tri-lane in the first sort of minute or so, most of the time it doesn't really work out, so teams are sort of starting to phase it out, but when it does work, it works well. You get a quick kill onto the TB, and Scourge isn't going to miss out on a massive amount of farming time, but it sort of sets the pace in this lane.
Yeah, and it isn't the worst case scenario when it does happen to that Terrorblade, but there are definitely situations where just not being in the lane for a minute or two, you can already start to lose that equilibrium. You can already see the creep wave sort of pushing in the opposite direction, and that's where it can feel almost not worth it to have A be missing for that long amount of time, as we do see Inverse sort of lose control of the wave, but honestly, sort of at his own accord, just because he does have that flat cannon already queued up.
Hold on there, Parker. Going to get hit up there by the Impale. Tingle chasing after him with the Timber Chain, but without the Whirling Death, they don't quite have that last little bit of damage that they would have needed. So, yeah, Gyro steps out of position for maybe just a moment or two, but not actually going to be severely punished there, as he should be just fine. But it's an interesting attempt, at least, from Tingle, as A Well, dueling up with Giant here. He is going to be able to get the bash down, and now here comes that flat cannon again. That's... Oh, okay, that's not going to be enough to really help him out. He's going to get hit up by the Impale, and Tingle... Well, I mean, he can go for this, but he needs an actual tree to jump to. He doesn't have the angle, so that is a bit of the downside to that. With the Whirling Death, maybe they pursue that further, but Tingle's going to be forced to back off. Parker will heal up with the salve, and he's going to be just fine. But at least the Timber is trying his best to sort of be as destructive as possible, and you see Parker's last hit count. 8-0 here for that gyro, so he's not exactly accelerating quite as quickly as some of the other cores on that Infamous side.
And Tingle King able to get some nice cheeky denies just because, of course, you had that little time where the Slardar wasn't there. He did have to send out a little bit more regen pretty much instantly with his first courier ride, and we'll see if Parker can defend his teammate's pull right now. And it looks like it will just be the half pull, but really, that's all you need. You don't want to be too inundated with creeps.
Nice little two-man stun as Giant... Oh, okay, Giant off the mark there with the stun. Wasn't really going to result in a fight anyway, but it's quite a bit of mana to burn through if you're not going to get the lockdown or the damage. So, a Nyx Assassin, bit of a rough play there, but he is going to be able to fall back. He's healing up with the Tango, the Salve, and even the Clarity being popped. So he's right back into this lane. Should be able to continue, at least attempting to make some plays here. But so far, I think this lane is not going too poorly for the cut. They're getting farm on Tingle. They're not necessarily pressuring up the Gyrocopter too heavily, but I'm not really sure that was a heavy expectation for them coming into this lane anyway, although now A might be in some trouble. He is going to go for the crush, but Tingle will keep on chasing. Timber Chain comes through, but the Slardar should be able to fall back successfully.
And for the first time in a couple of Timbersaw games here, we will see him immediately get that second level in the reactive armor. He just knows with Giant, with sort of a creep surplus, there isn't going to be that risk of magic damage coming out from the Gyrocopter just yet. He'd much rather have 12 armor, at least while he can sit in those creep waves. There's no risk of really being taken down as of yet, as he will be sort of eased into those early levels. But they're making another play into Giant.
They're going to hit him up with that homing
prime.
missile. A, yeah, he's just going to have to go in with the crush, but at this point, A's the one who's taking the damage here. He's going to go down. Dead. Yeah, he didn't have that bash primed, as you mentioned, and without that, there wasn't really enough to work with there. Giant didn't drop low enough, and that one honestly felt like they probably should have seen that coming. A has to know his health levels going into that, and you've only got really so much damage to deploy as Parker. Trying to push in the rocket barrage, but again, as you mentioned, that second point up in the reactive armor just makes Tingle King that little bit too strong. They're not going to be able to get in onto him.
Yeah, and Giant went for the little pull, wasn't able to get it off, and A will be able to come over here, give Parker just a little bit of a courier drop off, get the gloves of haste, so he will be able to right click just a little bit faster, but really not a lot of aggression coming out from the Infamous side as of yet.
Yeah, they're poking and prodding here and there, but nothing too serious. Meanwhile, over in the middle lane, KXY threw down the Tornado into the EMP onto Wage. That does burn through most of that Tiny's mana, but he's still holding on to a couple.
KXY
oh, wow,
is owning him.
Didn't quite look at those numbers. I think I saw the Timbersaw's number as the Tiny's. He's got 13 last hits. That is rough. KXY, as you said, doing
16
incredible.
denies. That is crazy.
16, Jesus. Oh man. 16 denies on the board. More denies than the Tiny has last hits. That shouldn't really happen under any circumstances, but well, here we are, and now actually there's a bit of a rotation in from Michael as well as he's trying to make his way over. He's going to guard the rune spawn first, though, so should be able to prevent Wage from... Okay, never mind. Can't prevent him from anything as Wage goes in for the toss and follows up the haste. Okay. Yeah, not sure what he'll do with it, though.
Got a little bit played there. He did have the snowball. It's not like he didn't have it, just didn't think that Wage would actually expend the mana there. And now there is a haste rune on the Tiny. Maybe he's going to be able to make a rotation, but with how his lane is sort of going, it does feel a little bit strange. It does feel like KXY is... I mean, I'm just watching this mid lane now, and KXY is just denying every single creep in front of the Tiny.
20 denies for him now. That's absolutely incredible. He is completely owning this lane right now, and the Tiny... I mean, maybe he makes a rotation at this point just to get away from that Invoker. Because this matchup is not quite going the way he would like it to. So, the Wage is going to pop that haste. He's going to make his way up top. Tingle's already sort of getting the fight going here, trying to push it onto Parker. But the wand charges are going to get him a little bit of regen. And now here comes KXY TPing in as well, looking for this fight as Tingle. He's gone a bit too far. That Tornado. Oh boy, Wage. I mean, he went all the way up there, and he's not really going to be able to do too much. But Tingle actually got the kill onto the Gyrocopter first. So Parker does get taken down. KXY is eventually able to sort of even that one up, but I thought, honestly, that the gyro was going to be okay, but Tingle King's able to survive just long enough to get that last bit of damage in.
And even if you aren't able to get that sort of return kill, we'll have to see. KXY has a tornado in 5 seconds. He's making the turn onto A. A will go down, but this is assuredly a dead Nyx. See if he even sticks around. Yeah. And the big issue, as well as Scourge going down in the bottom lane, is that Wage isn't getting anything. From that rotation, he actually lost 2 full creep waves mid and didn't get the kill. It was all sort of ended up on Tingle King, and if Tingle King's able to kill this Invoker, that'd be great, but I don't think that's likely. So this Tiny is still just having an awful time.
Yeah, and that is just the weirdest situation. Wage makes a nifty play to sort of steal away that haste rune from Michael. The problem is he uses that haste to get all the way up to the top lane, and then by the time he finally gets there, he's hit by the tornado, and then he just loses the hasted move speed anyway. Okay, he did get it bottled up, but I'm not really sure that's going to be enough. He's just going to go down to the EMP, so neat. He refills the bottle, he gets the invis, but it costs him his life as KXY picks him off.
And really, all of those rotations getting scouted out by this ward that Infamous placed about 5 minutes ago, and it feels like now Wage is sort of running out of options here. We've seen this before when he was playing for the cut. And KXY, I think, again, this is just angry KXY. He was really mad after that game versus Hustlers, so he's just going to start owning people across the map, as he's already has the Vit booster coming in from his Spirit Vessel, and this is going to be like a 12 or 13 minute Spirit Vessel.
And I had quite literally forgotten that there was an Ancient Apparition in this game until I just saw Pingu die there in the south side jungle, so that support hasn't done a whole lot. Now Tingle, he's going to get jumped in on, he's dead. Infamous, gee, I mean, if they've been playing this way throughout the entirety of the event, they could have gone undefeated. This is just incredible. They are really turning it on right now, and they might be looking for even more. They're getting in onto Wage. Can they lock him down? They will hit him up with the urn, but good stun in from Giant. They're going to lock down KXY. No, they're not. They can't actually kill him. Ghostwalk gets him away. A, meanwhile, trying to act as a little bit of a distraction, waiting to get KXY back into the fight. Parker's going to push his way in as well. He doesn't have any mana, though, but they just need the damage at this point, as Wage is trying to get away. Avalanche comes through. Giant turns around for the Impale. Nice stun onto 2, but A continues to chase. But at this point, Tingle is sort of wrapping his way around. A will be taken down, and that was maybe just a little too far for the Slardar. By that point, his teammates had already been forced to back away. So, slight overextension, but it's not going to be too bad for him, especially considering the fact that I think they... Did they get Scourge again?
Yeah, they killed him down in the bottom lane after TPing there. And now, yeah, you'll see Scourge just vacate the lane, give it over to the Veno. This double Bracer Boots of Travel, this is an interesting start coming in from Mariano, but it feels like this is exactly what he can do. It doesn't really matter. He's going to have KXY rotating it around, so he doesn't need to have a slightly more active item build. He's just going to be able to get pretty much all of this farm.
He's pushing his way through the tier 1 tower right now. No one's here to stop him, so that's going to be a bit of a freebie. However, over on the other side of the map, Tingle King was able to take a tower of his own. So at the end of the day, these tier 1s are just going to be traded out. That gold is going to be pretty much exactly even, but you take a look at Infamous, they're up by a bit over 1,000 net worth. They've got twice the kill count of their opponent. So in terms of actual aggression and activity on the map, they are still very much sort of outpacing their opponents through the first 10 minutes.
And we'll have to see whenever Parker does decide to get a little bit more active. He has 2 components of his Aghanim Scepter. He's been stacking up, being pretty efficient with his time, but now you have the Spirit Vessel completed by KXY. Fortunately, you don't have any charges right now from that urn. I think he wasted it on the Timber Cell top. And it looks like Michael might go down here to Wage and Pingu. He is a little bit behind enemy lines, but support is coming, but this feels a little bit strange.
And KXY, they want it in, but they're not going to get it. But Giant, meanwhile, okay, able to track down the Gyrocopter, as unfortunately Parker was just farming on low HP. Thought he was going to be safe. He had the Possessed Mask there for a little bit of that sort of lifesteal, but runs it down too low, and the Nyx Assassin with the Vendetta does take him down. So the cut, able to turn a couple of pretty valuable kills for themselves, trying to sort of stave off a little bit of this early momentum from Infamous.
And they do have a lot of sentries down. This is something that Pingu is very good at, keeping that sort of vision advantage, not allowing really anything to go by without them having at least a little bit of a hint of what's going on. They already got that D ward up where Michael died before, so if Pingu can maintain this, then Scourge is going to have a little bit of free space. He is just going to be a Terrorblade farming TB, not the fastest flash farmer, but being able to be more than one place at the same time. He's going to keep this top wave out pretty much
Oh,
the rest of the
KXY.
game.
Tornado
Yeah,
onto
mid.
2. Ice Wall dropped as well. Pingu's going to get hit up by the snowball. They even throw out the Venomous Gale onto him, and that should be an easy kill for them. Michael going to be able to pick it off. Can he get out of the cold feet? Yes, he can. So no follow-up stun there. Wouldn't have really mattered anyway. No one from the cut was really going to push back in onto that, but now with that kill, we do see Infamous focusing on the tower. That was a very strange slithering crush as he just sort of throws it out in the middle of the lane, but it's not going to matter. They're still pushing the tower. They're summoning up so many of these Plague Wards, and the cut, I mean, they're going to have to push somebody forward. This is exactly what you sort of want the Timbersaw for, though, as Tingle is going to sort of take point on this defense, and I think they should be able to hold it for now.
And we see KXY making the rotation, looking for Scourge. They've got very good vision on the cut side, scouting out, allowing Scourge to play up here. He's going to TP over to his Ancients, make sure it gets farmed up in time. And I really think they're just going to reset, maybe get a little bit more mana on this Venomancer. And somebody always has to be here. Oh,
Scourge. They've got eyes on him. They'll hit him up with the Cold
He
Snap
got
into
the
the Spirit
Vessel
Vessel. They even get him with the Corrosive Phase Wells for the armor reduction. And Scourge, he's just straight up dead. 4th death now. And, well, Wage and Tingle are going to look for a turnaround play. They've caught out A. They will be able to drop him low. They haven't killed him off just yet, though. 2-man crush coming through. Meteor deployed as well. Wage going to have to back off here as that Spirit Vessel is starting to tick him down, but he is getting reinforcements, so they are going to try and make this happen, but now Wage in trouble. Mariano's rotated his way in. He's going to push forward with the DOT, and Wage, I don't think he survives that. One last right click, actually not enough to bring him down, but the DOT actually won't get him either. He pops the wand charge. He's going to TP himself home, and I think he will survive. The problem is, at this point, the fight is still going. Michael and Giant trade each other out. The Timbersaw is going to get stunned up by the homing missile, but Infamous don't want to go any further forward than that. But Tingle, he wants back in. The Ice Blast is coming through as well. If they can hit the gyro, this would be huge. They've got it. I don't know if Parker lives here. He's ticking down. That regen, not going to do him much good with that sort of Ice Blast effect on him, so they do have to wait. But KXY will take it, and Parker...
Just barely.
Parker lives. Immediately gets hit by the salve there as well as A has his back, so that got close. It's a nice Ice Blast in from the Ancient Apparition. It's just a little bit too little damage. But now Pingu, that's unfortunate. He's going to get hit up by the EMP into the Deafening Blast, into the Snowball, into the Ice Shards even, and he should be going down here. Michael goes in, KXY gets the kill, and, well, they should know, well, I said they should know there was a sentry there, but, sentry there, but Tingle actually comes in instead to take down the Obs Ward. So they do still get the D Ward that Pingu basically sacrificed himself for. It's just, it's not the AA who gets it.
And incredibly clean from Infamous as well. They scan up the high ground. They know that somebody is coming to try and get that rebuttal play, so they just immediately leave. They don't even entertain the idea of sticking around, defending their ward, maybe trying to get a sentry down. Immediately leave. They don't feed. Super duper clean. And while it's not the biggest gold lead coming out, I feel like all these little plays that Infamous are making, they're going to get sort of compounded as we have more of those little items getting finished. Medallion of Mariano, we have the Aghanim Scepter finished on the Gyrocopter. And A, he's getting some good levels. He hasn't been able to find the most, but he really doesn't need to, because the bigger issue on the cut side is that Wage is not finding a lane to find this Blink Dagger. This is a very, very slow Blink Dagger for a mid-tiny.
Oh, KXY spots him out as well.
Oh, there's no way.
Cold Snap into Tornado. Wage is in trouble. He's slowed by the Ice Wall as well. Here comes the Shards into the Snowball. Wage is dead. KXY gets the kill. Ice Blast will fly through again, but it's only actually going to hit onto the Tusk there. It does fly over Mariano, but they won't actually get the impact damage. So, decent attempt from Pingu, not quite going to work out. Wage taken down, and again, progress towards that Blink Dagger is slowed up once more.
And we see they're just going to immediately move over, connect with
Pingu.
the Gyrocopter. Yeah, freebie. Leaves A to solo kill it as well. I think he might die for it, but...
Okay. KXY does clean it up at least, but A will die. But in that case, you're still going to count that as a 2-for-1. You get the Tiny and the Ancient Apparition for A. That's a trade that you're going to be happy with. And now KXY, well, unfortunately the Tornado sort of threads the needle between Giant and Tinkle King, but it's really just going to act as a distraction. Parker and Mariano pushed their way bot. They took the tier 2 tower, so control of the map very much becoming a factor in Infamous's favor, and this is not good for the cut. It's already not good for them, but if they lose more control, you already see Scourge sort of forced into the north side jungle. This is going to be even more of a necessity for him moving forward if his own side of the map is no longer secure.
It's kind of a little bit dramatic irony here as Scourge is just walking behind two
Yeah.
of the infamous heroes. They have no idea of what's going on. They did sort of ping him out with Michael. I don't know if they saw him. They couldn't have seen him with sentry vision or something ridiculous like that, but they've
They are
actually
pinging
happened
him.
upon him.
Oh, man. Tingle's, or excuse me, not Tingle, Scourge is going to get caught out there. He has really nothing, not even enough mana for the Sunder, as that EMP drains it all away, and Infamous are really just continuing to put that pressure in. We were sort of concerned about this coming out of the draft. I mentioned I was so scared for Scourge. That pressure, if it got onto him, would be absolutely devastating, and we see it here. He's still somehow second highest net worth thanks to his farming in the jungle, but 5 deaths on the board for him.
Tingle.
And now Tingle's going to get caught out as well. No way out. Giant's going to try to come in, but I think he just got clipped by the EMP, so he doesn't have any mana to contribute to that fight as Tingle will go down, and now Giant has to make sure he gets out as well. But Sunstrike will connect into the Poison Nova. That is quite a bit to commit there, but it's going to presumably get them to kill. Yeah, there's way too much DOT. Spike Carapace is going to stun someone, but it's not really enough. He will still fall, and Mariano gets the kill.
And thank goodness, 18-minute Blink Dagger coming in from Wage. That will be their playmaker. That is exactly what they need to get something going. Maybe you can get a kill onto this, really just the Venomancer. You need to get a sick toss back. You don't really have enough control for that Invoker just yet. KXY finishes up his Midas, no less. And it's really easy for Infamous to make these calls and keep on finding Scourge because there are very few places he can actually play.
Oh,
there we go.
Wage.
But he's dead.
Yeah, he gets in for Michael, but the problem is now he's not going to necessarily get out as that EMP, or not EMP, Tornado, excuse me, comes in to finish the kill. Wage taking down Mariano, though. A little bit too far forward. He will fall now. I don't know if you want to be here either. He's going to try to get out. The Chakram briefly slows him down, but now Tingle King's onto him with the chain, but Sprint should get A out of here. I don't think Tingle is going to be able to catch up.
Yeah, if he really was under threat, he could try to make it to the river. Tingle King's still going to try for it. A is just going to try to keep
feels kind of
him.
greedy, honestly.
Ooh, he wants to keep the vision up. He's just making space right now, to be honest. This is all time that Parker's just going to anchor bottom. Yeah, they need to be careful here.
And Michael's
they
in
actually
as
just
well.
have no disable. Without the Blink Dagger on Tiny, they can't actually touch the Slardar.
Scourge has to be so careful here. There's only 3 heroes, but they could still try to make a play. And Tingle, while he does have damage, doesn't really have defensive strength. So Scourge is going to back himself away. A, though, still pushing forward. He's going to get hit up by the Whirling Death and the Chakram, but now that Tingle sees Michael's here, I think he's getting a little bit more concerned. They have to sort of assume that there's cores coming out of the back line, and they would be correct as KXY makes the move, but he's actually going to get stunned up before he can actually go all the way in. KXY is dead. Pingu does get taken down in exchange, but the AA is quick to buy back, so he will rejoin this fight, and this could be the Cut's opportunity, but right now they're currently on the run. Wage just trying to get himself out. He's going to get stunned up, though, and this is not going well. Poison Nova gets dropped on top of all of them, so really they have to fall back. Wage, though, won't make it out. He will fall. Tingle on the run as well. He's going to buy some time with the Yules, but the Snowball is actually in onto Giant instead, as they will be able to take him down, and now Tingle's left all alone, and he will be finished off. Big fight for the side of Infamous. It starts off a little bit rough with the death of KXY, but they will find about 4 kills and the buyback on the Ancient Apparition.
And that's something that their lineup really excels at, is they don't really have a weak member. The easiest member to kill on their team is definitely that Venomancer, and he just sits there, he tanks through everything, he gets several sort of Timber Chain rolling deaths off. He does so much damage from that Timber Saw, but it ends up not mattering because Scourge, he doesn't have meta. He's not going to show up to your fight, he's not going to come up until he gets this BKB. He's a little bit too afraid of that Vessel, of that Cold Snap, and now I think Infamous are just transforming the map. They get this Aegis, and then they're going to just start running at you again.
Yep. Got the Aegis, they've got a 7k net worth lead, and they don't really have too many reasons to slow it down. Much like we were sort of talking about in the previous match. Once they have this lead, they're so adept at just sort of continuing to push the envelope, but always pushing in a way that doesn't feel overly greedy. They're not sort of rushing their way into it. It's more of a, maybe not slower, but more methodical, certainly, approach once they have that lead. And if you're the Cut, you don't really have any immediate ways to sort of break out of this situation. As you mentioned, for Scourge, I mean, he's really not ready right now. When the meta's up, sure, he can give it a try, but you do want him to have further items. He's closing in on the BKB at least, so maybe if he gets that, that could make life a little bit more sort of enjoyable for him in terms of pushing into these fights, but he's still about 1,000 gold away from it. So Infamous will have further opportunities to push out across the map before their opponents can pick up that big item.
And we see Wage, they're very set up in this enemy jungle. They do have that good vision coming in from Pingu, but Wage, all of his mana gets burned out, and they do need to be careful. Giant, ooh, maybe.
They're actually
KXY.
trying to turn around on a KXY, and they've got it. That's a big kill, but now they need to be sort of cautious about the follow-up. Mariano already threw down that ult, so Giant and Tingle King are sort of ticking down from it. Giant will fall, and now Tingle, where can he go? He is going to try to get away. Mariano was thinking about chasing, but with Scourge re-entering the fight, Mariano actually has to fall back, and he's not going to make it. Scourge gets the kill. Tingle is just about going to have to be sacrificed here, but that DOT was no longer on him. It's not going to matter, though. Michael gets in for the damage. Tingle will fall, and now Scourge is low as well, but he does have the Sunder. I don't think he's going to need it, though. They've taken down Michael. It's only Parker left alive. Does he actually push in for this?
Oh, Parker? He's playing
He can
around with
time
this
this
homing
up.
missile. He's got a man to dodge it. Oh, no.
He still gets hit, and he might just die.
Oh, no.
He actually got both. Wow, that's the timing so crucial there, but just maybe a half second too early on the Manta, he still ends up getting stunned, and then both he and the Ancient Apparition die anyway. So I don't know, if you're Scourge, maybe you just should have just turned around and tried to get the Sunder off before the homing missile connects, but I don't know. That's a bit of a hindsight sort of play there. In the heat of the moment, he tried for what he thought was best, but doesn't quite work out.
And with the way that Parker's built himself up, once you get this Daedalus, then there is no running away. There is nothing that really Tingle King can Giant do, and those have been the playmakers. Those have been the people trying to get something going for the cut side. And Mariano, once he finishes, at least one more armor item, then you're going to start feeling this Venomancer as well become sort of that little bit too tanky hero that you can't kill. And there is nothing really that the cut can do to get the Aegis out of the hands of this Gyrocopter. And again, you have your BKB now on the Terrorblade, but no meta for 60 seconds. If they really want to, they could just go up high ground, prod at it a little bit.
They absolutely want to. They're going in. They're looking for that tier 3. They're even going to look for Tingle King as Michael gets in for the Walrus Punch. The Yule Scepter, though, will buy the Timber a little bit of time, but now they're all standing in the middle of the call down, so they are going to be taking a little bit of extra damage here. That's going to force them back. Wage, though, taken down before he can get away, and now the Nyx Assassin will fall as well. This is turning into an absolute disaster as Scourge is just barely able to avoid the Poison Nova, but that shoves him off of the tower. They're going to go in for the tier 3. They do end up losing the Aegis, though, but Gyrocopter's back in. He actually somehow dodges the Ice Blast hit because of that reincarnation. And now they take the tower. They want the fight as well. Tingle King dropping low. Trapped up inside of the shards. Straight up dead. KXY gets the kill. And that's just going to lead them in onto the melee racks. The resources here for the cut are just slowly being drained away. And they're not getting enough out of this. They burn through the Aegis. They get another kill onto A, but it's just not enough. They lose the entire top lane of racks, and now Infamous are just going to be free to leave whenever they want.
And I feel like we're getting a repeat of that previous game versus D2 Hustlers. Every single rotation they're making is pretty much working out. Really, the only thing that sort of slowed down the aggression is KXY falling a little bit earlier than they might want. And that's where Giant has really been able to get more farm, almost as much farm as is Tiny at this point, even though they are sort of 2K separated apart. But once Wage gets this Echo Saber, what are you killing? Are you killing the Slardar? Are you trying to kill the Tusk? They both have Blink Daggers at this point, and you still have the Aegis for another 30 seconds here in Scourge. Oh boy.
BKB will be popped. Meta going to go down as well. This is actually a hell of a lot of damage as Mariano will be taken down, and they're actually starting to turn this one. Gyrocopter will fall as well. Infamous are going to be the squad who are forced to fall back, but they're not going to get everybody out. They lose Michael as well. Tingle King picks up the triple, and the cut were waiting for their moment. They certainly appear to have found one there, but the fight actually may not be over just yet. Wage wants back in. They're going to try to get onto KXY. KXY, though, is holding his ground with the BKB, but once that wears off, he really is going to have to fall back. And Scourge, as of right now, not going to be able to catch up to him. Tingle, though, still chasing forward. Timber chaining his way in, but KXY has already sort of backed off far enough. I don't think they're going to be able to catch him now.
Oh. Still playing around a little bit.
Yeah, KXY.
Wait, he's going to get Yules.
Yeah, this is too risky. I'm not sure why he went back in for that. That just doesn't seem like a good idea. The Ice Blast is now going to hit, and he's dead.
And really, the cut, the two shining light players, Tingle King and Scourge, that was his moment. And without an Aegis on the Gyrocopter, they just sit there, beat into him. I don't know if he didn't realize he didn't have an Aegis or what was going on there with the Gyrocopter, but Scourge, he pops his BKB, he pops his meta, they get the fight that they really needed up until this point, and they completely turn it on its head. Tingle King did so much damage in that fight.
Wage is going to get jumped in on, though. Meanwhile, Mariano, I don't know, actually, what I think there. He just poisoned Nova when there was almost no one around him. He hit creeps, that's really it. So that's a bit of a questionable call. He is still going to be able to take down Pingu, but his ult is basically wasted there, and now he's a little bit too far forward. He was looking to start the fight, but nobody was really coming in behind him. So feels like Infamous have kind of dropped the ball now in back-to-back engagements. That one at least isn't going to cost them nearly as much as the previous one, but you see that sort of cohesion and the decision-making maybe faltering a little bit over the last few minutes.
Yeah, and KXY, he has his BKB. We finally see Parker going for his BKB next, and then they can get on the aggressive a little bit more. But it's been a little bit of an uncharacteristic mistake for this new Infamous that we started seeing in that previous game, where their aggression and their timings definitely got punished. They were not respecting Scourge. They were not respecting the fact that he did have that 9-second BKB, and it just continued to sort of punish them. They weren't able to find that initiation. They dove a little bit too deep, and Giant, he found that double impale, and if Giant can keep on finding these really key stuns, for sure Infamous are going to get punished.
Yeah, and I think that's the big difference. We were talking about the way they had been looking so far in this game and how they looked in the previous match. I mentioned that they had been aggressive but more methodical than more methodical than rushed, but these past couple of engagements, it's felt like they're just sort of taking a fight thinking, we're going to win it no matter what, and that's absolutely not the case. It's Parker, he's just going to get taken down. Parker's gone, and Infamous have to fall back again. Giant does get, well, he does get traded out, but that is really not a trade I think that the Cut are going to care about. They are just tearing their way through this. Scourge is going to pick up the double kill. Tingle King flies through there with the chain for the kill onto Mariano as well, and Infamous, they're absolutely falling apart at the seams here. A is going to get taken down, and KXY is the only survivor.
And this is starting to feel like that old Infamous squad where now they're getting a little bit scared. This is the second time. This fight was incredibly one-sided. There still is no BKB up on the gyro. They didn't sort of lick their wounds, take a step back, go for maybe a different play. And now Scourge, he has a Grove Bow, he has a Dragon Lance, and a Scotty. You have to be so careful with how you engage versus this Terrorblade. And Terrorblade definitely has the matchup up on the Gyrocopter. You have to respect it. Now, hitting this tier 3, is this really good? I'm not sure. They're probably going to get a little bit more damage and back away, but Tingle King has really held down the fort for his team. He has a BKB now. He's been the one that's really getting aggressive up on these heroes, and he keeps on getting so much damage out. He's been the number one, I think. He's been the person really making the most plays on the Cut side, as well as just Scourge. He's finally hit his timing. They're actually hitting their stride.
Right. And the synergy between the two is actually coming into play so much more as well. Tingle is able to just push into the middle of those fights, and that is especially going to be beneficial for Scourge. He's been able to sort of get himself out of bad positions, reposition himself in the fight, get the BKB down, sometimes even sort of pop that Sunder when needed, because, at least in part, due to the fact that the Tingle King Timber can just sort of charge his way in there and demand attention from the Infamous lineup. So the two of them absolutely sort of working off of each other right now, and they're going to go into the Roche Pit. They're looking for it. Aegis Cheese and the Aghanim Shard all going to go their way if they can get this, and Infamous, I think they suspect what's going on here, but I'm not entirely sure that they're going to be able to do anything about it.
And this is a complete 180, where now Infamous, they're scared to take the fight. They don't want to do anything. It feels like Wage is almost a support Tiny. He's just sort of stepped aside for Tingle King to kind of carry him in this one. And you got the Aegis, there's still the Shard, there's still the Cheese on the ground. We'll see if Scourge actually ends up taking this. The Demon Zeal is a funny Shard. I don't know if it's necessarily the best or the worst. We might want to see that moved over to the AA, but we'll definitely have to wait and see here. But with these tier 3 items up, this is when TB also starts to feel its nicest. Now you have that Elven Tunic. You have no works of an MKB for Parker yet. And man, he had these items so really... I felt like he had these 20 minutes into the game. He hasn't been able to make that much progress aside from this BKB. And Infamous, they can still take a fight, but man, the Cut are really giving him a run for their money now.
Now we see that net worth, it's pretty much completely evened out. So Infamous go from up by about 10 or 11,000 to now pretty much dead even with their opponents, and they're still in some trouble here, eh? He's going to get run down. Tingle King's just going to chase in onto him, and Tingle King continues to get it done. 15 kills on the board for this Timber, as we can feel and see the momentum shifting. Infamous just don't really appear to know exactly how best to counter out what their opponents have been putting together, and at this point, if they take much longer to sort of come to a consensus and try to do something, the Cut are going to sort of have them on the back foot. Not that they're already not sort of pushed back into that more defensive position.
And you see the items getting queued up across the Infamous lineup. You see the Solar Crest for the Venomancer. You see the Aghanim Scepter for the Tusk, and maybe a Satanic coming in for the Gyro. But you're playing versus AA, you're playing versus Nyx Assassin. These are all heroes that punish you for not having really anything to work with. And I really don't think this Gyrocopter can itemize like this because you're not going to win that core matchup anymore. You sort of threw away your lead. SMD really just tucked down his head, farmed up, said, guys, I can't do this right now. Give me a little bit. And he's about to have a full butterfly on top of this Elven Tunic. And there's no way that you can fight on the Gyrocopter. There's no way you can win a man fight versus this TB anymore.
Without that MKB, they just straight up can't do this, really. Maybe if they go in as a group, if they're able to sort of recapture that sort of team fight strength that we saw from them earlier, then they could fight their way through it. But the man fight is not going to go, not going to go their way. As Scourge hit up by the Walrus Punch, that's a bit of an interesting one. But Michael doesn't actually want all the way in, so not entirely sure what the plan was there, outside of maybe just trying to poke the bear to a certain extent. But Michael's at least able to get away before there's any consequences. And Michael is working towards an Aghanim Scepter here on the Tusk, so the kick potentially just going to try to get someone sort of caught out of position and maybe get Infamous into the fight that way.
And it's something that feels almost necessary. Once he hits that 25 on the Terrorblade, you can sort of get behind him, kick him into a bunch of heroes, and then if he doesn't have the Aghanim Scepter, that might be the play. But aside from that, it feels like Infamous are now going to have this game, or they're going to have to take this game incredibly late. We still see no shift as well in the Gyrocopter's build. I don't know if he doesn't know or what's going on here, and they found the kill on a Pingu, but again, Tingle is right here to try and get the return, and yep, here's Waging Giant.
Michael will be taken down. A now, he's not getting out of this one, or, well, maybe he is. The sprint is going to get him over. Nice blink onto the high ground, so quickly able to put some distance between himself and those opposing heroes. So A's at least able to get away, but it's going to turn into a 1-for-1 trade on those supports, which, gold-wise, technically the cut will win, but 34 minutes in, I don't think we care too much about 100 gold's difference. But the more important aspect here is that Michael is dead and doesn't have buyback, which means the cut can afford to maybe get a little bit more aggressive in terms of how they push forward. They don't know that the Tusk doesn't have buyback, but I think they can at least sort of try and get something else as they're moving towards sort of the north side jungle and into this top lane as well. Do they actually try, though, for the high ground push? Aegis is only up for 50 more seconds, so if they're going to try to make use of it, it feels like now might be a time to try and make a move, especially with two heroes on the side of Infamous currently hanging out on the other side of the map, although, okay, Parker is TPing himself back.
And finished off the Satanic, they might see that and just decide, okay guys, let's take a little bit more time, we should probably get the waves in. Scourge very well could just try to siege up on that tier 3 a little bit, but now that the gold lead has finally sort of shifted towards the cut side, I don't think they want to give it away. They'll wait for the next stages. They'll sit on high grounds up until they get another opportunity. They're going to force Infamous to come to them.
Seems like a
KXY.
Fair enough play here as KXY is going to try to jump onto Pingu. Does pop the BKB, looking for the TP home, and yeah, Tingle has nothing to cancel that. So KXY gets a quick pick off. Quick pick off. Michael, though, might be taken down as well, but A blinks in, goes for the crush onto 3. That's a nice one, and now the Aegis is actually expired. Scourge got to be very careful about how he approaches this fight, as he is going to be able to get that first kill, but now, well, what else can they do here? A goes in for the stun. He's going to be able to take down Giant. That will cost him his own life, but actually, I think that there might not be a but. This might just be the end of the fight. Parker's pushing his way forward, but he's not actually going to be able to catch up to anyone, so the cut should be able to fall back successfully. A couple of heroes still trying to deal with the after effects of that Nova, so they're just going to fall back and regroup in their base.
And now you buy back, you're trying to get a little bit of the map back with the Satanic finished up on the Gyrocopter. You can get a little bit more aggressive, but Scourge has room to grow. If they really want to push up into this TB Metamorphosis, I think the cut will gladly welcome it, because that's when they're going to find the opportunity maybe to get the turnaround. And we do see an Elven Tunic also built up on the Gyrocopter. Not necessarily gonna see this Terrorblade go for that MKB to try and counter that out, but I'm still very surprised that we don't see the Gyrocopter making really any shift to counter this Butterfly coming out from SMD. And we haven't seen a full 5-on-5 fight in what must have been 10 or 15 minutes at this point, because the cut were just able to claw back so much. And if a full 5v5 does break out, you have to still give it to Infamous. I think they just should have the levels, they should have the team play, and with a Hex on KXY, I feel like that's where this is sort of shifting. But Infamous, they just haven't been able to find the initiation. Michael and A have been sort of using their bodies to get information, get sort of the game plan going, and they keep on dying whenever they go in, not saving anyone, not really finding the picks aside from maybe this giant Nyx assassin, but that's really been it.
Yeah, the death for information sort of strategy, it serves you up to a certain point, but at this stage they need A and Michael to be in there for the fights, and
Ooh, Giant's hunting.
hasn't quite happened just yet as they are looking for it. Giant not able to find anyone just yet, but now they do get eyes on Michael in that north side jungle. Tingle. Okay, pushing his way forward. Michael's going to get taken down here. Pinku does get traded out in exchange, though. So, actually, wait, Michael, he didn't actually die. He's going to be able to get himself out of there. Okay, now he's dead. Never mind. But, Scourge, in the middle of this fight, he's holding the Sunder for as long as he can, but going up against the Gyro,
no.
oh, that's a problem. The Lotus Orb reflects his own ult back onto him, and Scourge is going to be taken down. Tingle now doesn't have the backup. He's going to be taken out as well. He does pick off KXY, though. Okay. Does take down KXY, but both himself and Giant will fall. A ends up sort of getting picked off right at the very end of that as well, but that is a hard-fought win for Infamous, but it's still a win. 5 for 3, the overall trade-off.
And just MVP Mariano, able to get that Lotus Orb off just in the nick of time, able to mess up Scourge. And they took so much damage from that gyrocopter. That flak just completely ate through them. And you don't have armor items on your Tiny. You don't have any semblance of farm. That hero has still remained one of the weakest on the cut side. And now I'm pretty sure they could prod this bottom tower all they want. I don't think they're very scared of this Tiny at all.
Yeah, Wage alone is not really going to be able to get it done here. Maybe he could get onto Mariano in the best case scenario, but the Veno at this point, he's pretty tanky, right? He's got the armor, he's got the shroud, so they're not really going to be able to get through him. So Wage just has to sit here and watch as his bottom lane of Rax will be taken. That's a rather aggressive use of the call down, but it does push back the Ancient Apparition, and that will allow Infamous to finish off that melee. Rax, the ranged, is not dead yet, but these Plague Wards should just be able to finish it off. Creep Wave's coming in here as well, so it is going to go down. 2 full lanes of Rax taken now by Infamous, back up by 7,000 net worth, and if you're the cut, you're going to have to make sure the Terrorblade doesn't end up sort of blowing his Sunder. Outside of that, though, I don't know. I feel like the team fight can still go well for them, but that misplay really just cost them any chance to take that last engagement, and now Infamous, they're going to go into the Roche Pit. Aegis Cheese and the Aghanim's Blessing all available for them, and the cut are getting their heroes back up now, but by the time they're in position,
it's so dead.
Yeah, it's too late. Oh my god.
And it's just the Alacrity Gyrocopter. He does so much damage, and he actually has another Aghanim's Blessing. He's going to give it over to the Venomancer, and he's got room to grow. And is that a Rapier coming out? No, it is an MKB. So he's going to be completely fine. He's going to have that solution versus the Butterfly, and then you really can't win that 1v1 on the Terrorblade now, where before, if you were getting that 25, if you're getting the farm, he's trying to buy a Satanic now on his Courier. It still feels like you should be able to win that matchup, but he just stalled out his farm. It really sucks, because all of the pressure should not be on Scourge. It shouldn't be one misplay that sort of brings the game to a halt, but now that the Aegis is in the hands of Infamous, it really feels that way. And the Courier just died. No Satanic for Scourge.
Gets it sniped out there, so yeah, that's dead. Scourge at least should have buyback. He's about 300
DD
away.
on the gyro. Oh, this is going to be, if they're not careful, this is going to be Rax in a really easy fight.
Double damage rune. Yeah, he's just going to, he could just go for it, honestly, at this point. As A, okay, jumps in, goes for the stun onto Tingle. That's not really going to set him up for too much, but look at this. The
He's
gyro.
going to try to flak on him.
Oh, he is
just
a
wants to
sneaky
rip
boy.
him.
Can he get in? Not quite yet. Nice Hex, though. That's going to take away the Terrorblade, at least for a few seconds. And now Infamous in onto that tier 3 tower. They are absolutely burning through it. And there is a glyph, and I feel like the cut may need it here. Otherwise, this could very easily turn into Mega Creeps, but they're not going to deploy it just yet. Tier 3 tower will fall. Parker continues to hit up onto the Rax. Meanwhile, A creating a distraction there with the Crush, and this is just Megas.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do. They can't approach. Wage isn't able to get that toss back. He's not able to find any counterplay. They just sort of watch it happen, and they're going to let them sort of ease onto their final, really, tier 4s if they want to. But Infamous, they're also just being patient. They're just going to extend their gold lead maybe a little more, finish up these T4s. Now you have a Minotaur Horn on your Gyrocopter. You're not going to be able to kill him with the Carapace.
Wants in. He got the Walrus Punch into the kick. They've locked down Tingle. Okay, not quite yet. Nice Lotus Orb reflecting the snowball. The problem is it continues to sort of pull that timber away, but he is going to be able to get himself out, at least for now. But I don't think he's getting away from this one. The Yule Scepter buys him some time, but Michael's in with another Walrus Punch. Tingle's BKB not going to save him as the kick actually kicks him back again, and Tingle just can't get back to his own fountain. He's trying as hard as he can, and he is going to be able to get away, but the problem is Scourge gets taken down. He will fall. Tingle still dies. Buyback going to get popped by both as they desperately try to hold this, but I don't know if this is really going to go the way that they wanted to. They do take down Mariano, and now they're getting a little bit of damage onto the Gyrocopter, but that Gyro, he's got the Aegis and the Cheese, so realistically speaking, if they push forward now, it's only going to put them in more trouble. Scourge kicked forward. He's going to get hit up now by that Venomous Gale as well, and he's just straight up dead. Scourge gone, Tingle King gone, Wage dead, that's it. There's got to be a GG coming out here. They've got literally nothing left to fight with, as the two supports are just going to cower in the fountain, but
they're just,
Parker, he wants the Rampage. He's not actually going to get it. The GG will be called.
Maybe?
Wait. Oh, he got it. Oh, I thought that GG was going to actually come into effect that little bit faster, but there it is. Parker finishes off in style with the Rampage, and Infamous takes him a little bit longer this time around, but they do manage to eventually sort of break through and secure that win.
And it should be this hard for the Cut to win, especially Infamous. For the first 20 minutes of that game, they were so convincing. It felt like they were really making all the rotations they needed to do. They were playing at the speed that they wanted. They were having that TB at that 0-5-1 deficit. He was really down in the dumps. But then Tingle King and Scourge, they had that one beautiful rotation mid where they catch him on the T2. Giant hits a two-man impale. The entire game just turns around. They flip the script, and then it all falls apart when they lose that Aegis. It just times out. They stay around in the enemy jungle a little bit too long, and Infamous pounce on that, and just... it sucks, but it feels like you lost to one Sunder. One of your Sunders got reflected, and then the entire game just completely turned around for Infamous. It just a little bit too much pressure that Scourge really needed to handle, and again, I feel like with Wage, you can't have an 18-minute blink dagger. You can't have this bad a time. It really puts way too much pressure on your teammates, and it must suck to be Scourge and Tingle King right now. It feels like they really played their hearts out. It just wasn't in the books for them.
Yeah, all it takes at that stage is one mistake, and as you said, if you're Wage on the Tiny, you really do need to step up there. Part of the reason why that missed Sunder is so costly for them is the fact that they didn't have much else to fall back on. If the TB and the Timbersaw can't get it done, then the Cut can't get it done as a team. So, well played by Infamous, really sort of pushing their opponents into a position where they were overly reliant on those two heroes in particular. So, Infamous are able to lock down their second straight win. The Cut, though, honestly have to be feeling pretty good about the way that this game went. They do end up losing it, but they put up quite a fight, and I think they realize at this stage, if you can cut down on maybe one or two misplays, if you can put Wage in a better position for Game 2, I think they're going to stand a better chance. But we'll have to wait and see whether that theory proves to be correct. Game 2 of the Cut versus Infamous should be coming up in just a little bit here. So we are going to be hopping into a bit of a short break, but when we come back, it'll be the final game of the night.